against you, go and correct them when you are alone together. If they listen to you, then you've won over your brother or sister. But if they won't listen, take with you 1 or 2 others, so that every word may be established by the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses. But if they still won't pay attention, report it to the church. If they won't pay attention even to the church, treat them as you would a Gentile and tax collector. I assure you that whatever you fasten on earth will be fastened in heaven, and whatever you loosen on earth will be loosened in heaven. Again, I assure you that if 2 of you agree on earth about anything you ask, then my Father who is in heaven will do it for you. For where 2 or 3 are gathered in my name, I am there with them. This is the gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Christ.
May God's word be spoken and God's word be heard. Amen. Well, we have some pretty weighty readings this morning. Imagine people behaving badly in the church. Unimaginable. Can't even conceive of such a thing. And yet it has always been the case. Always been the case. The Old Testament lesson, God is speaking to the prophet and saying, you must discipline the people, or you will suffer, or you will pay the consequences. As the leader of the congregation of my people, you have been anointed to speak the truth to them, to teach, to guide, to direct, to discipline. That lesson seems appropriate because today is Grandparents' Day. And I've seen a number of signs that say, what happens at Grandma's house stays in Grandma's house, right? That's because grandmas indulge. Grandmas allow candy when parents may not. Grandmas allow you to get away with things. Why? I think there are 2 reasons. One, you're going to go home. They don't have to live with it. And number 2, grandparents don't have the investment in the future of this child that parents do. Parents feel the weight of responsibility of having to teach the child, of having to correct the child, of having to think about long-term. Eating candy is not a good habit. For the grandparents, eating candy is just right now. And so parents bear the weight of responsibility for seeing that the long-term interest of the child is what we attend to. So I do not think it is a coincidence that we do not call God our grandfather. We do not call clergy our grandfather or grandmother. We say father and mother for both. Because there is a weight of responsibility upon the leaders to correct and to discipline, which is not always nice, but is part of the gospel. It is part of the Christian message that those who are in leadership positions must discipline. And the gospel, Matthew, is telling the church how you are to go about that. When someone offends you, and we've already been talking that Matthew was writing to a church where this was the case. Things were not always great. There was dissension. They didn't always like what was happening. They were under a lot of persecution. They were having to carry a cross. It wasn't one big happy family, everybody gets along, we all agree. That has never been the church. So in Matthew's gospel, he has Jesus teaching us, what do you do when that happens? Well, you go to the person directly. You don't get on the phone and call 20 other people to get their opinions. You don't go and tell everybody else what's going on. You go to the person you have a problem with and you say, I have a problem, can we work this out? That's the Christian way. If they will not listen to you, then you get someone to go with you. get two people to talk to the person. If they still won't listen, bring it before the church. And if they still won't listen, then the person is to be removed from the community. That is the Christian policy. And that is also the policy of the Episcopal Church. We follow biblical principles in how we deal with problems. However, we do not miss what the Old Testament lesson says. It is God's desire for reconciliation. It is God's desire that people will turn around and come back to God. That people will be reconciled with each other. It is never God's desire, nor is it ever the church's desire, that people will be put out, that people will be pushed away. It is always God's desire to have reconciliation and union. But how do we do that? How do we do that? Well, the answer is in Romans. Because Romans was written after the Old Testament. It was written after the gospel, when the church was forming and really having to deal with these issues in a concrete way. And Paul writes to the church in Rome and says, control yourself. Control yourself. As a mother, I will never forget the day there were a bunch of kids at my house. They were jumping on the furniture, and I walked in and said, whoa, guys, stop. Can't jump on the couch. And one of the little kids, not one of mine, said, it's a free country, I can do what I want. And I said, whoa. Whoa, whoa. Disrespect aside, I said, do not be deceived, my dear. It is a free country, but you are not free to do whatever you want. You are never free to do whatever you want. If you do not control yourself, you will be controlled by someone else. In this country, you are free to control yourself. That's true. In this country, you're free to control yourself. In some other countries, the government controls you, or a state religion controls you. You are told what to do, when to do, why to do, how to do. In this country, you are free to control yourself. And within Christianity, we have a reason and a way to control ourselves by choice. And that reason is love. Love. Love is what Paul says to the church. Love one another as if you were loving yourself. If you love each other, then you are not going to sleep with someone else's spouse. If you love each other, then you're not going to be envious of what somebody else has and you don't have. If you love each other, you're not going to be fighting over who has control of this or that. If you love each other, you will control yourself. And then there will be no need for discipline. Love is the answer. Now, where do we find such love? Well, the hymn we just sang. Verse number 2. Maybe we should sing it again. All right? How can we break through when we want to hold on to bitterness? The hymn says. When we don't want to let go of what's been done to us. I was offended. This isn't fair. This should never be done to me. How do we break through that? Jesus, on the cross, shows us the love God has. Shows us the debt that we owe to God. What can anyone possibly owe us when we already sit in so much debt to God for that kind of love? One thing that we have heard over and over and over this year as we've studied Matthew is, who are we? Where do we find our identity? Where do we find our self-esteem? Where do we find our integrity so that we are not threatened by insults? So that we are not threatened by other people's opinions? Where do we get that? We get it from God saying, you are my beloved child. You are my beloved child. When we realize how loved we are by God, when we really son or a daughter of the King of the universe. What can possibly anyone do to us that would control us in such a way that we would show anything but love? May God give us the grace to control ourselves